All right.
All right, everybody, just coming live to you here on my Facebook page and from the radio station. And you know what? I want to talk about something interesting. I want to talk about something I'm having on my radio show today and tomorrow, and maybe carrying on about, is understanding the culture we live in, which is really weird these days. Especially like stuff like even Christmas. Huffington Post just ran a critiquing column against that cartoon of Rudolph. You know, the old one with the dentist friend, and Rudolph is just treated miserably by all the reindeer gang and the coach and everything else, and they're up in arms in Huffington Post about how terrible this is because, well, you know, Rudolph is being bullied, he's being singled out, he's being blah, 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 blah. But the point of this thing is, of course, Rudolph rises above it all, makes something of himself. He's a unique guy, and he becomes a leader. Isn't that what it's about? And oh, well, anyway, so why on earth is Huffington Post doing that? Why are we getting all this nutty stuff these days that you can hardly make sense of? It's so inconsistent, so irrational sometimes. What's going on in our culture? And I want to take a minute, and actually it's on my radio show a bit. I'm talking about it today, and you can catch it at 11 or 4:30, and then also again tomorrow, another session at 8, 11, and 4:30 at spiritfm.ca. You go there and listen live at those times, and you can hear what I'm talking about. Because what I'm talking about is to help us get a grip on what is going on today. And it is what's technically called postmodernism. And you might say, what is that? Well, it's one of those technical explanations of where the culture goes and what it's about. And of course, before postmodernism was modernism, and before that was kind of romanticism. And you've heard of things like the Enlightenment and the Renaissance and all that. Okay, that's the kind of thing we're talking about. But if you can understand postmodernism, you'll understand then why all this craziness is happening. What is the super incredible hunger of people today, the pain and hunger, and why they're so angry. And the Marxists are hijacking this thing and want to overthrow governments and everything. But what is the hunger, and how Jesus is the answer for it? I think we're at the verge, the very edge, if this catches fire, of an incredible revival. And so let me just, I don't want to get into a long convoluted thing, but I'm going to try to condense this down just for you on the Facebook Live post here, so you get it, okay? The Romantic period, Romanticism, like the 1800s and maybe early 1900s, was where man, without God more or less, but man, it's just celebrating wonderful things. Oh, beauty, nature is so beautiful. This is so beautiful. That's so beautiful, and color is so beautiful, and everything flourished. Okay, that's kind of what it's about. I won't get into it. But then we entered into an era, especially it was starting before that, but really took off after the Second World War. As we got into modernism. Now, modernism is secular humanism. This is man without God, what we can do. God, we are our own God, right? But it's not supernatural in any sense at all. It has no transcendent idea at all. Modernism is basically saying, we have the technology, we can do it, we can make this, we can make that. I remember Karen and I going back in those days, 1986 or so, to Disney World in Florida, and we saw Epcot Center, and it was just a massive display of the ingenuity and the prowess and the ability of man. We're going to create a better world because we can do it all. Man. The worship and idolization of man. That was modernism, but it was so rigid. It was like, we can build the system, we can make the technology, you'll fit into the mold, you'll be a gear in the system. And so governments and institutions and everything became machines, more or less. A lot of the romance was gone, the feeling was gone. Remember the architecture, it's still around, of course. Buildings became just square blocks with doors and windows, and they're ugly, ugly, ugly. Houses are like that. We've got, from that era, the modernist era, everything's just strictly functional. Cars in the 70s became that. Used to be, we had some beautiful hot rods and cars and styles in the 60s and all that. Became the square box with lights and wheels in the 70s. Everything's functional. Horrible. And so did our social systems become like that. And so everybody fits into the box and everything else, and along it goes, blah, 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 blah. And, you're just a function of your biological system, blah, 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 and sex became free, and you can just do whatever you want. And why do this? Why do that? Everything, and that's modernism. Well, next comes, and here's where I want to get into this, a couple generations now of what's called postmodern. And the university's been training up people this way for decades, even when I went to university, to think like this, to think, for example, skeptical about everything, that the way we think, the way we've ordered our culture, our society, religion, morals, everything like that is actually just social conditioning. It's a value system produced by political, religious, historical narratives and hierarchies, and so you get this idea of what succeeds is the old white males that run everything, control everything, and they set the agenda, and they've made it this way and forced it on everybody, and so that's postmodern. That's the start of postmodernism, looking at things as if nothing really is set or absolute or whatever. It's all a construct. Think the movie The Matrix. Reality really is not real reality. It's just a social construct. It's a mental construct. You can escape from this construct like Neo did in The Matrix. In The Matrix, of course, the machines had taken over, and they enslaved human beings, and they put them, when they're born, they're put into a biological machine, and their minds think they're in the world, and they're living in the world like we have here, but it's really a computer image that everybody lives in, but their bodies are being enslaved, and the juice being sucked out for their life. Neo gets to escape. He takes the red pill. The red blue pill thing shows up in literature for 100 years. So that's the beginnings of postmodernism that we're in now. So think about this, that if everything is like that, and now we have generations raised on video games, then what happens? We've got people who are wanting to escape their pain. They've been hurt. They've been, filled with angst, and they're looking at the culture, and they're looking at the systems, and they're going, these things hurt me. And of course, the way families have been, the way everything's been, it's all painful. And we can escape. But the way they escape now is, man is not just able to structure life. I can actually escape in an irrational way. I can reconstruct my reality, just like a video game. It would be like being stuck in the Matrix, in the movie The Matrix, and all of a sudden everybody's going, wait a minute, this isn't real. This is artificial. You know what? That building doesn't even exist there. If you jump off, you won't, if you can overcome it with your mind, you won't crash to the ground and die. That's how irrational this is, but it has a reason for it. And so we have this craziness, a rebellion against what seems like normal thinking, right? So everything is up for grabs right now. And this is the postmodern world. So, hey, even biology is up for grab. And like I've said other times, most of the people I've known as a pastor and others over the year who were gay or transgender or something like that. And some of that's been going on for a while. I think just about all of them had sexual abuse when they're little. And what's going on really when you get down underneath was need to escape the pain. You got to understand that. And if you can think, wait a minute, I'm not really biologically a girl, I'm a boy, then you can escape them. And I've actually known in pastoring people, women who thought that, and if they were given the opportunity, they would have, done the surgery, whatever else. This is postmodernism. Postmodernism then looks at the structures and the organization and the morals and the ideas and the way we do things in our culture as being just social conditioning of the age. And we can change it. We don't have to do it. So in other words, we begin to say things like, you, white, older men, Christians, you don't even know that what you're doing is a social construct. And you've got to be stopped. And we got to make the playing field level for everybody. You see, that's what's going on now. That's why they're thinking that way. And I can get deeper and deeper into this and explain a whole lot more. But I hope I've given you sufficient to get a grip on it. Because if you can understand what's underneath, you'll be able to project out and predict everything's going to happen right out of it. You can understand where they're going with it. But the point I want to get at this is they're looking for something. And I think we're on the verge of a revival. They're saying, this world system and everything in it is a construct of modern thinking, and I don't like where it's taken us. I don't like the pain I'm in. I don't like the fact that I can't ever earn enough money now to buy a house, and I don't like what's happened with morality. My parents break up, they're gone. There's this, there's that, and I don't want to be a boy. I don't want to be a girl. I don't want to be this. I don't want to be black, or I am black, or there's race, or there isn't really race, but you're a racist, even though I don't believe in race. It isn't even coherent, because now what we're saying is, in a sense, man, you can, by your thinking, create your own transcendent reality. Okay. Now, here's my point, and I want to pull this together for you. In the midst of this craziness, and it just looks insane what's going on right now, and you might not be able to understand it. And I'm telling you all these things because I'm trying to help you understand it. I remember some of this from doing philosophy in university and everything else. What's coming here is that Jesus, it says in John chapter 1, I'm looking at this, the true light that enlightens everyone was coming into the world. He was in the world, and the world was made through him, yet the world did not know him. He came to his own, and his own people did not receive him. But to all who did receive him, who believe in his name, he gave the right to be the children of God, who were born not of blood or the will of the flesh or the will of man, but of God. What does the incarnation have to do with everything I'm talking about? And here it is. The word world in Greek is the word cosmos. Cosmos means exactly what they're talking about here, this orderly arrangement of the fallen man in the whole universe, in the whole world. It's not cosmos in the sense of Carl Sagan and the stars. It's cosmos in the sense of the culture and the way it runs and the arrangement of things and how things work. And so what happens with all of this is Jesus, God, outside, he comes in. It's like he comes into the matrix. He was not of the matrix. He comes in and makes him part of the matrix. The word world is what they're trying to deal with. And of course, unlike Neo in the movie The Matrix, the whole thing that's going on with postmodernists and the thinking now is they can't, no matter how much they try to say, we're not part of that hierarchy. We're not part of that social construct of reality. We're not going to buy into your racism. We're not going to buy into your national identities. National identities are just a human construct. And so the border should be open. We're all equal. See, that's where it comes from. We're not going to buy into this. We're going to make our own equality and everything else. No matter how much they try to do it, you get this, they're still part of the social construct. It's been taught in universities for decades. And then, of course, what's happened on this is Marxism and has hijacked this thing because they want the power and going to overthrow it, Get everybody level, everybody equal. So there's nobody higher and lower. Into this system, the world, cosmos, as defined in the Bible, the Greek word world, Jesus is incarnated. Here's the point. Jesus is incarnated. And all who believe in him, they don't recognize him, but all who believe in him, he gives power to be, the right to be children of God. You and every believer, starting in your spirit, are actually taken out of that system. And now your identity becomes the identity God wants you to have. I think, as I'm sharing this, we are on the verge of an incredible revival. Oh, I'm telling you, if this will catch fire, it's going to go like a brush fire just racing through the culture. It's something. It's just awesome. So there we go. I wanted you to catch a little bit of this thinking here. And, you can go to, like, Jordan Peterson is incredible, this psychologist from the University of Toronto that's been out there challenging everybody. Now, he's not a Christian, but he talks about God. But you know what? He's explaining a lot of this out. The problem with Jordan Peterson is it's so complicated, man, but there's a few pieces. If you get them, if you get it, then you'll start being able to predict everything they would say. Like what's going on, if you understand postmodernism, is predictable. Where it's going to go in the culture, if we have a revival, it's going to revolutionize everything. And they're primed. It's just like the Jesus people movement that time. Things are primed for a flaming revival. If only we Christians could learn how to explain Christ to them. Okay, so anyway, I'm just sharing that to bless you guys. And I see a bunch of you watching me live here, and thanks for watching. I'm sure others will watch. Pass it around a little bit. And I don't know if I've explained it very well. I'm going to try a bunch of times and get notes all written up for it. You can see my note, kind of scribble scrabble. And I'll probably do some print stuff on my newsletter and everything, so that gradually we can pull it together. But I was just putting this out because I'm just realizing as we're going along here, I'm going, God, this is all stuff I get from my days doing psychology and philosophy in university. Lord, Holy Spirit, start to reveal truth and understanding to me about it, because you want to save these people. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. It's all part of it. So bless you, everybody. And thanks for tuning in here and taking a few minutes with me.